Welcome back to Buy or Buy. Today, we're diving exclusively into the 2010 to 2020 Aston Martin Rapide and Rapide S. This is the breathtaking four-door V12 Grand Tour that was honestly supposed to take Aston Martin totally mainstream. I mean, it was a brilliant, incredibly ambitious idea, but tragically, it launched straight into the absolute worst global recession in 80 years. And well, it just got completely crushed. So the Rapide is essentially the answer to a very specific kind of hilarious question. What happens when you ask Aston Martin to make a four-door, but you completely forget to tell them the rear seat actually needs to fit adults? Seriously, it is famously cramped back there. Two adults can technically fit, but they are not going to be comfortable. In fact, it was so snug that Aston Martin literally stopped calling it a family car shortly after it launched and officially rebranded it as, get this, a sports car with two rear seats. Yeah, that really happened. 5,500. Aston Martin's lead designer, Marek Reichman, somehow penned this completely gorgeous shape in just 7 weeks of initial concept work. And the company was incredibly optimistic, targeting 2,000 units a year. But guys, they never even came close. Over an entire decade of production, total worldwide volume reached only around 5,500 cars. The very first ones were actually built at the Magna Steyr plant in Graz, Austria, which is the exact same place that builds the Mercedes G-Wagon, before production eventually moved home to Gaydon, England in 2012. Part 1. The Pedigree and Power. Make no mistake here, the Rapide is a genuine, hand-built Aston Martin through and through. It sits on a stretched version of Aston's bonded aluminum V8 architecture. You step inside and the interior is draped in spectacular leather, rich walnut, and it features a Bang & Olufsen sound system that frankly puts most modern cars to shame. And to achieve near-perfect 50-50 weight distribution, that massive hand-built 5.9-liter V12 is mounted front-mid paired exclusively to a rear-mounted transaxle. The original 2010 to 2012 Rapide uses the DB9-derived AM08 V12, giving you 470 horsepower and a 6-speed automatic. Then in 2013, the Rapide S arrived with the AM11 V12, bumping things up to 550 horsepower. After that came the absolutely crucial update. The 2014 to 2018 Rapide S got the AM29 V12 with 552 horsepower and a highly advanced 8-speed ZF transmission. And finally, the 2018 to 2020 Rapide AMR Swan Song delivered an uplifted V12 pushing over 595 horsepower, limited to just 210 units worldwide. 4.2 seconds. That is the 0 to 60 time of the 2014 to 2018 Rapide S. By pairing the revised AM29 V12 with that much faster 8-speed ZF transmission, Aston Martin shaved nearly a full second off the original car's acceleration time, and they pushed the top speed past 200 miles per hour. It was an absolutely massive performance jump. Let's get into part 2, the trap, also known as the Aston Martin tax. So here's the reality check. The original $200,000 MSRP has entirely collapsed. You can buy these for shockingly little money today. But waiting for you in the shadows is the catastrophic JLR-tier maintenance reality that is just ready to crush unsuspecting secondhand buyers. Let's look at the ruinous mechanical flaws you are adopting. First off, because of the bonded aluminum construction, dissimilar metals react. You are going to see paint bubbling at panel edges like vents, mirror mounts, and door bottoms. Remediating and repainting that, it costs $1,500 to $5,000 per panel. Also, on the earliest DB9-derived V12 blocks, you risk cylinder liner slip. It presents as a loud engine tick, and the re-sleeve fix requires specialist work in the tens of thousands of dollars. It is brutal. Add to that a critical safety recall for the gearbox neutral selection switch, the infamous 2014 recall for counterfeit plastic used in the accelerator pedal arms, and the fact that inside you really just have to live with highly dated Volvo source switchgear and navigation that ages very poorly. $2,500. I'm going to give you a second to digest that number, because that is the cost for a single set of replacement tires. The heavy Rapide wears through rubber incredibly fast, and you are literally mandated to use Bridgestone Potenza AML tires, meaning Aston Martin braided tires only. No cutting corners here. $7,000. And that is the high end of your standard, totally predictable annual specialist service for this V12. Listen, even if absolutely nothing major breaks, maintaining a hand-built V12 Aston Martin requires budgeting $3,000 to $7,000 every single year just to keep it on the road safely. All right, part 3, the used market breakdown. Let's talk numbers. A 2010 to 2012 original Rapide with 40,000 to 70,000 miles is currently trading at $35,000 to $55,000. Honestly, that is incredibly cheap for a hand-built four-door V12. The 2013 to 2014 Rapide S with the 6-speed sits at $55,000 to $75,000. But it's the late production sweet spot you really want to pay attention to. The 2014 to 2018 Rapide S with the 8-speed automatic sits at $70,000 to $95,000. And of course, the ultra-rare 210-unit Rapide AMR Collector Edition sits way up at $130,000 to $180,000.
Strictly by the numbers, the Rapide sits right in the middle of some famously depreciated luxury nightmares. You've got the much more reliable, but frankly far less exotic Porsche Panamera Turbo sitting at $25,000 to $50,000, which is a car we've covered separately on this channel. You have the Maserati Quattroporte Sette with its Ferrari V8 Duo Select disaster, the $40,000 Bentley Flying Spur, and the Mercedes CLS 63 AMG Money Pit, all of which we have also covered separately on this channel. The Rapide is arguably the most beautiful of the group, and it's the only one with a V12, but it very firmly shares their catastrophic running costs.
And that brings us to part 4, the final verdict.
The verdict for the Aston Martin Rapide is a solid maybe, and here is exactly why. While the $35,000 early models are dangerously tempting cheap entries, the 2014 to 2018 Rapide S is the only truly smart pick. You absolutely want that AM29 V12, paired with the ZF 8-speed transmission that sits in the $70,000 to $95,000 bracket. It makes it the best driving Rapide by far. But you can only buy this car if you can realistically stomach a $5,000 to $10,000 annual budget for maintenance and unscheduled repairs.
So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to weigh. Is the undeniable romance of owning a genuine hand-built V12 Aston Martin for less than the price of a used Panamera actually worth the brutal financial reality of keeping it on the road? It's an absolute masterpiece, but it's a masterpiece that demands a very heavy toll. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and we'll see you next time on Buy or Buy.